So nearby, Brad and Lucas, who's your favourite bald character from fiction?
Well, I mean, can it really be anyone else other than, like, the man who made his own lightsaber colour, just Mace Windu?
Oh, he's so fucking cool. There's an oft-repeated story that when Patrick Stewart was cast as Jean-Luc Picard, fans of the show endlessly complained because he was bald, leading to the creator of the show and universe, Gene Roddenberry, having to step in to shut them the fuck up. Weird then that even after Stewart established that a bald man could be the captain of a spaceship, another actor had to struggle to also rock a chrome dome, Avery Brooks.
All right, Cadet, let's go over this step by step.
So, are you familiar at all with the story of Patrick Stewart getting cast and being like, you can't be bald? You know the man who's been bald for 40 years?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the story, and I'm flabbergasted hearing that because, like, just Jean-Luc Picard
is bald, yeah.
Like, that character is bald.
Yeah, there is that famous, like, production still of him wearing a wig out there. So I guess put that behind me right now. And it's like, it looks so weird, like Patrick Stewart with hair. And the story goes that when he was cast, like, all the fans online kind of complain because you're going from Kirk, virile William Shatner with, like 4 pounds of chest hair, just banging all the green ladies, to Patrick Stewart, a refined Englishman who drinks Earl Grey tea. And the fans kept complaining, and Patrick Stewart was kind of like upset about it because they kept saying, oh, he's bald. A bald man can't be in charge of a spaceship. And Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, was asked point blank by an interviewer, by the 24th century when the show is set, surely they'd have cured male pattern baldness. And Gene Roddenberry looked him dead in the eye and went, by the 24th century, people wouldn't care. And it's the point is, it's like, you're on a spaceship with fucking green aliens and Klingons and shit. Who cares if he's bald? Does he do the job? Well, yeah, he's really good. There we go. Done.
To me, the point of Star Trek is always that, like, people have evolved past, like, all these pettiness and wars and shit.
Yeah, and we've talked before about how, like, Star Trek has a couple of subtle nods to the fact that, like, it's a post-racism, post-sexism society where there's men in the background of shots just wearing dresses.
On your duty or on the welfare of the one called the Traveller.
As part of their Starfleet uniform, because it's like purely a matter of comfort and utility. There's no idea of gender, even though it kind of is. And the way I've heard like Star Trek: The Next Generation summed up is, yeah, it's a show in the 90s with scripts from the 80s, written by people who cut their teeth in the 70s by a guy who grew up in the 60s. It's not exactly like a bastion of equality, even though the show tries to espouse that, but it does try. And like Patrick Stewart himself was coming on the fight, yeah, the outfit they make like Deanna Troi wear is like not exactly like utilitarian like everyone else's, but you know what? It's a product of its time. It tried its best.
I mean, at least there was a show trying rather than not at that point.
Yeah, and should we comment on the fact that like William Shatner himself has gone on record as being like, when did Star Trek get political? Even though he was on it. And I should point out one of the first episodes, this is a real thing, folks, though, like, William Shatner is like, when did Star Trek get political? And right now, I'm just going to tell you the plot of one of the earliest episodes of Star Trek. And Brad and Lucas, tell me if you can pick up on like the subtle allusion to a real-world issue. So there are two species of aliens who are half black and half white. Black on one side, white on the other. And there is a schism between this race of aliens because some of them are white on the left and black on the right, whereas other ones are black on the left, white on the right. And the end of the episode is William Shatner, Captain Kirk, explaining to him, well, there's not much difference between you besides the colour of your skin. Can't you just find a way to get along? Do you see, is there any allusion to any real, that might have been happening in the 60s?
And this is the man that said Star Trek is now too political.
Yeah. Like, it's literally got, like, black and white aliens, and, like, you have his character saying, well, the difference is only skin deep. It's what's inside that matters in the 60s. So let's move on and leave William Shatner where he belongs, in the past, and talk about the captain after Picard. And that was Benjamin Sisko, played by Avery Brooks. And are you all familiar with, Next Generation Deep Space Nine? Do you know what he looks like, at least?
I know what he looks like, but I actually know nothing about this character, so if you just give me a little summary.
I'm just going to show you a picture. So that's the dude.
Okay, I'm liking him already.
You like him? And that's the thing. What does he look good bald? Yeah. Does he look good bald?
Yeah.
Apparently, though, he wasn't allowed to be bald. So when Avery Brooks came in to be Benjamin Sisko for Deep Space Nine, he's like, well, normally I rock a chrome dome because I'm losing a bit on top. And I went, no, we can't have that. We've already had a bald captain. And he's like, but I don't look good with hair. I like to rock a chrome dome. I'm like, no, you're not allowed. So you have to have hair.
I don't see why we have to do this every year. I thought that last year the teachers had agreed that they wouldn't do this anymore.
They didn't wig him up, did they?
No, they didn't wig him up, no. But, Avery Brooks was really annoyed about this. He's like, but I feel more comfortable just rocking, a smooth-ass head and a goatee combo, which he looks really good with. He looks really good with that. And they're like, no, we just had a bald captain. We don't want people drawing comparisons between you and Captain Picard because you're both bald. And do you notice the difference between Benjamin Sisko and Captain Picard?
What do you mean, other than looking like completely different looking people?
That's other than the fact they look completely different. Save for the fact they are bald, they are nothing alike in either their looks or the way they act, which is the point. Because you go from being the pure diplomacy of Picard to Benjamin Sisko's more pragmatic approach, which itself, and both of which differ from Captain Kirk's fuck it in the metaphorical and literal sense. But they said that. When he was bald, he looked too scary, and they didn't want a scary man to be captain. So what Avery Brooks did is he had to kept pressuring them, why don't you want me to be bald? It can't just be because people will draw comparisons between me and Patrick Stewart. We don't look anything alike. And eventually he found out that they think you look too scary with a bald head. And you might be thinking, well, okay, yeah, he looks authoritative, he looks someone you want to cross, but ultimately, he's in charge. He's supposed to, project authority and, have a commanding presence. But compare that shot I showed you to a season 1 headshot. It doesn't even look like the same dude, does it?
That headshot looks scarier.
Yeah, that's scary because he doesn't look real. And the thing is, you can tell he's starting to lose his hair on top, but he wasn't allowed to shave it. And I shit you not, it was written into his contract that he wasn't allowed to shave his head. Because every time he'd come in for film, he's like, can I shave my head? And no. And he asked so much they wrote it into his contract. But one of the other reasons they didn't want him to be bald is to say, well, people might mistake you for a character you played, a couple of years ago. And I shit you not, that character was called Hawk in a show called A Man Called Hawk. And it's just him. And it's just him wearing a fucking swag-ass coat and sunglasses and a gun. The thing is, though, if that guy was in charge of a starship, I'd be like, I'd watch that show.
I want to see Hawk in charge of the Starfleet.
I want to see A Man Called Hawk in charge of a spaceship fighting Klingons and shit. That'd be awesome. And I think we have to address the fact that this plays on a very tired, very racist trope, which is the scary bald black man. Are you familiar with all the trope of the scary bald black man?
I mean, I'm not familiar with the trope, no.
Well, it's just a trope that exists of, and it's something black men in Hollywood and sort of talked about a lot of. If you are particularly dark-skinned, you can't look too threatening or you won't get a leading role. And there's numerous, black actors who've talked about Wesley Snipes, Eddie Murphy, sort of talked about how, there's certain hairstyles and manners of dress they can't have because they'd be too scary. And there's a great interview with James Avery, Uncle Phil, where he talks about this. And I struggle to think of a man who projects more fatherly warmth than Uncle Phil. And he says even he had to deal with this. James Avery's talked about it, Avery Brooks has talked about it, numerous other actors have, and it's annoying and sometimes you can use it to your advantage, but the fact that you have to use it to your advantage rather than it just not being a thing is frustrating. And it was the same thing because that's the thing. No one said Patrick Stewart looks scary, and he's bald. What's the difference? Why does Avery Brooks look scary? Because he's bald.
Is there a reason why a bald black man is seen as being scary? Is there a previous film or role where somebody was bald and black and that? Well,
there's this thing called American history. And it's too much to get into, but it is a trope, and people can no doubt think of examples, and it sucks. So there's plenty of actors who've talked about it. And it's I feel bad for them. What do you do? It's just my face. It's just how I look. Avery Brooks, this is just how I walk around. It's how I feel comfortable. It's how and he looks great. He looks so bad with hair. He looks so shit because his hair's receding. Bringing it back to just his arguments with the production, as mentioned, they said, you've got to have a full head of hair and we're going to write it into your contract. So he tried to change tack. I went, what about a goatee? I like to, I'll rock a goatee in my day-to-day life. Can I grow a goatee? No. And eventually they relented on that, but they said you can grow a goatee if you keep your hair.
Right.
So you can go bald or you can have a goatee. So eventually they did relent when, the character had been established and they realised people like the actor, they like the character. It doesn't matter what he looks like. We talk like Riker. When he grew the beard between seasons. It's like eventually people they like the character now. You can kind of change how he looks.
Almost like he was never threatening and
No.
they were just mistaken and shouldn't have got in the way.
Yeah, so they said you can shave your head, but you can't grow a goatee. So he made the choice to shave his head. Then had a season or two of being a bald head. And then he came in a season or two later, grew the goatee. That's how he feels comfortable. That's what he had for the rest of the season. It feels so bad to say about a show like Star Trek, which is ostensibly set in a post-racial society where these issues shouldn't happen. And yet behind the scenes they are. And they're reacting to and anticipating expectations.
That's the issue, is that Star Trek isn't being made in an ideal world like the Star Trek universe is set.
Yeah, so we talked about its approach to its characterization of women and stuff like that. It's written with the best of intentions, but it's still written by men. And it's still written by people with biases. And those biases will bubble to the surface until they're corrected or addressed by someone who actually has that lived experience. Like Avery Brooks did. And I can only imagine how pissed off he was when he had to rock up looking like... I'm just going to show you the picture again. So imagine you stole the picture of him in his day-to-day life. Imagine having to rock up, walk around everywhere looking like that.
Imagine.
I'd be so mad. If I had a hairline like that and I looked that good bald and they made me keep that hairline... And that's how people knew me on TV. I'd be so pissed off.
Imagine you were on TV looking as cool as Hawk did.
Yeah.
And then you've got to rock up like that.
And
And then you've got to spend 5 years arguing to make yourself look like a fucking normal human being.
Yeah, just look how you feel comfortable in your own skin. In a series where it's ostensibly about, it doesn't matter how you look or, where you're from, as long as you do the best job possible. And it must be, that's extra added, just kicks to the dick, isn't it? Of this wouldn't be an argument if this, in the universe of the show that I'm in.
Yeah.
But it's an argument with you. Then it's the kind of way that, they went from a guy having to argue to be bald and then a guy who wanted to be bald and couldn't. So, nearby, Brad and Lucas, favourite bald character. You mentioned Mace Windu.
I'm a big fan of Captain Holt. I love Captain Holt's character.
Oh, Andre Braugher.
The problem here is that medical practitioners have co-opted the word doctor.
Okay, Captain.
Now, I know we live in a world where anything can mean anything, and nobody even cares about etymology.
Captain Holt he's such a good character, and obviously there's the more seasons. Is Brooklyn Nine-Nine finished?
Yes.
Yeah. As the more seasons went on, you got to learn more and more about who he was, how he became who he was, and he also softened up.
my favourite. Now you've done it. I turned my chair.
Now you've done it. You've made me turn my chair.
He's so good in that role. I love Captain Holt.
Every single new episode and season just adds more to the character, and he just gets better.
Yeah.
He's such a good character.
He's just such a good actor. He's such a good voice.
I don't think I've mentioned it on here before, but one of the most embarrassing moments of my life happens to have something to do with Captain Holt.
Let's go. Go on.
Phone was in my pocket, and without me realising it was unlocked. And I just went, and I was working for hours and hours, sat down and checked my phone, and I had a bunch of notifications. And somehow, while my phone was just rattling in my pocket, I accidentally sent a Captain Holt gif to my entire contact list, including people I hadn't spoke to for 10 years.
Which one?
And it was just Captain Holt saying oh, I've never felt better or whatever.
I've never been happier.
That reminds me of when I was at work and my phone in my pocket rattled around and it checked me in to Corporation, which is the dirtiest, nastiest, dingiest nightclub in the city we live, at 2:00 in the afternoon with a bunch of punctuation. And a bunch of people actually legit thought I'd just gone to a nightclub at 2 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. I'm go on, Carl. And I guess if we're talking about bald characters, we have to talk about the series that did a lot for bald society, which is Breaking Bad, and the film that did a lot for bald culture, Fast and Furious. So who is your favourite bald character from Breaking Bad and your favourite bald character from Fast and Furious? So if you think about it, more people in Fast and Furious are bald than have hair. Also like Prison Break as well.
Yeah.
So Prison Break like isn't really known as like this big bastion of bald culture.
That's the thing is because like with Fast and Furious, I've watched all those trailers, so I've seen all the movies.
Basically, yeah.
But I can't remember all the cast.
Because that's the joke I always make, isn't it? Of like Vin Diesel is the third most popular bald character in his own franchise, and it's true. He is.
Is this who we are?
They've got a favourite bald character from Prison Break, Breaking Bad, and Fast and Furious movies. Let us know in the comments your favourites.
I mean, I don't like Heisenberg. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
It's Gustavo Fring, clearly. Like, I mean, obviously between him and Mike.
Fring isn't like bald though. He's just got like a
Very closely
trim, shaven head. Like
it's got to be Mike. Yeah, Mike's the best bald character on Breaking Bad. There's no other answer but Mike.
I just do what I'm told. And now you're gonna do what you're told, which is to sit here, shut up, and stay in the car till we finish our pickups. You got it?
Maybe Hank. Hank grew on me like in rewatches, and then for Prison Break, this is more for me and you, Brad.
I don't know, like, you sort of don't want to go with one of the main two.
Yeah.
Sucre is good.
I do like... Sucre really grew on me, and I love that there's a bit in one of the episodes where I think it's when Gretchen turns up in season 4, and like she's talking to another person who has to work with the gang. So, you know, it's really tough doing this. Like, yeah, it must be really, like, tough hanging out with, like, the front cover of, like, GQ magazine. Because, like, obviously, they're all, like, so handsome. I think, yeah, Sucre is a good pick.
Is that the best you can do? Have some faith, papi. Have some faith. Como una sonrisa eres tú así.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some other ones. Like, I don't
everyone.
like the General sucks.
Oh, he sucks ass. He's a terrible character. He's in that show for way too long.
Yeah, he's a good actor, but he was in it for so long that he was just boring by the end.
You get to a point of just hit him with a book. Just push him over and stab him. It'd be easier.
Every scene he was in was just, like...
Just talks about Scylla. It's like, shut up.
And people just get one over on him. And he's like, yes, but I've actually got one on you. And then it just went back and forth.
And it's like, tune in next episode. And like anticipating that you'd like tune in a week later. It's like, no, I'm on Netflix, baby. Next one.
as a person that's only seen Prison Break season 1,
Yeah.
I've always wanted to know.
Is it how does T-Bag get a robot hand?
Well, no, it was where does he like put tattoos of the blueprints after the first season?
Well, do you mean in universe, or do you mean like how do they just have the actor constant?
No, in universe, like because you know he's covered his chest,
Yeah.
right? And then like what season 2 is his full back, and then season 3 you like work like you've got to go a very narrow prison down the arm.
So season 1 is the entire body tattoo is to escape from that first prison.
Yeah.
And then he just keeps those tattoos for the rest of the series until season 5 when he gets them removed.
It's the start of season 4 he removes them, but yeah, season 2 he also uses parts of the same tattoo because that's part of his escape plan.
Yeah.
He doesn't. The only time he gets new tattoos is when they brought it back for season 5 because he'd had them removed.
And he gets all new ones, including mine and Brad's favourite, where he gets a guy's face tattooed on his hands and fools a facial scanner by doing this. It's so good. I'm not kidding. Brad, one day me and you need to do a fact theme focus. And if you would like to influence a fact theme focus, like once a month we're going to do a vote on Patreon of an idea submitted by each member of the crew, myself, Brad, Nisha, Lucas, on a topic, and whichever one of those topics wins, that person will lead like an hour-long loose discussion on it. And one day I think we have to put in like just Prison Break, and me and you can just talk about Prison Break for 2 hours and just say out of context stuff like I just did to Lucas and see how much we can get Lucas and Nisha to lose their shit.
I'm down for that because that means I just get to like sit back and listen to you guys talk Prison Break for like a solid hour.
Out of context, Prison Break would be so good.
It's so good. Like, I always mention like they give a child molester a robot hand for like, turbo molesting. And that's not a joke. They actually do that.
What is the discussion that we're going to do first?
It'll probably be up on the channel by the time this video's already gone out, I imagine.
Well, what's the topic?
It was media that influenced your personality as a child. So weird bits of media that people might not remember, but somehow influence the way you think and act today, and just the kind of media you do enjoy.
If you haven't already watched it, then go check that out.
Yeah, so it'll be like an hour-long discussion led by me, just like each member of the crew, just like bringing in the media, like those deep pulls. Like, do you know when you mention when people go, yeah, that was a thing? Like when I mentioned like Fat Dog Mendoza, people are like, what the fuck was that? And it's like, it's that show about that spherical dog. And it's like, oh yeah, there was a show about a spherical dog.
Was there?
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can talk about that.
And someone out there's probably like, yeah, Fat Dog Mendoza, let's go. Yeah, let us know your favourite bald character in the comments.